There you go. We are recording.
Right.
Excellent. So this is the March 22nd, 2021 meeting of the Ashburnham Website Review Committee. Tonight we have John Mulhall, Donna Burton, Donna Michael, and TJ Kelly.
Perfecto.
Could I get a motion? Oh, let me get my notes up. And then could I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I move. Oh, I can't. I wasn't there last week.
No, this is just for this one. You can.
Oh, I can. All right. I move.
All right.
Second.
TJ beat you, Donna, on that one.
Yeah.
All right. All right, all in favor? Aye.
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 Beautiful. Okay. And then we had the minutes from last week that I just sent out just a little bit ago. Did you guys have time to review?
I
Yeah, I
did.
looked through.
Okay. Everything look okay?
Yes.
Motion to accept the minutes of last meeting. I don't remember the date.
17th.
Okay, the 17th.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Beautiful. Okay. So I had hoped I was going to have more time. I always hope that. And was trying to get together a draft of the presentation for the BOS so we could all tear it apart and kind of go over it, but that didn't happen. So I picked a template and I got the logo, town logo on there. And that's as far as I got. I spent a little bit of time kind of distilling the survey results just to kind of see what we had. Of all the responses we got, I took a look and it looked like in order of most requested, top one was information about meetings, whether it's meeting minutes or when meetings are going to be held. We had 12 people mention that out of the 35 I think we had.
Yep.
We had 9 looking for how do I reach people in town hall? I called that directory assistance. We had 5 people wanted events listed, 5 people wanted to make payments, 4 wanted bylaws, 4 wanted news. Then we kind of started dropping down. 3 people wanted COA information, 3 wanted better COVID information, 3 wanted dog licenses, 3 wanted to pull forms, and 3 wanted to find out the town hall hours, which when I looked at the website, I noticed was not as easy to find as I thought it, as I assumed
No, it's
it was.
not. I actually,
So-
John, I actually used the website this week for dog licenses
Mhm.
and tax payments.
Uh-huh.
And in all honesty, it worked perfectly. Just from a
Mhm.
user's perspective, I
Mhm.
snapped in there and got everything done within about 15 minutes. So from a user's perspective, I got, because I have 3 teeny tiny parcels of land and 1 big one, but I got all of my real estate taxes taken care of, and I got my dog licenses taken care of in no more than 15 minutes this last Friday.
Not
Just to
bad.
let you know. So the online taxes work perfectly. Don't want to say that too loud because it worked perfectly. Now, I haven't gotten another set of, oh God, bills, which happened last year from the tax collector, or worse, the sheriff. But first glance, and I have them all copied off, so I have all of my records, but doing it online, it all worked perfectly.
Mm. You know, I spent a little bit of time with the website, and now after, and maybe it's after we've had all these discussions and everything, I was thinking to myself, we have most of the stuff
Yep.
that we need. Like it didn't look that bad to me. It's organizationally, I still think we're a jumbled mess. But as far as if you need to find something, I did the same thing. I popped around and just did a couple random searches and was able to get to it. So maybe it's not quite as bad as we first thought. Of course, the other thing that worried me is now that we've spent all this time talking about it and thinking about it, and I've been on our town website, maybe it's just because of experience that I'm better at it.
Well, that might be part of it. Maybe the knowledge base that we need to add, which we knew we needed to add. and some of the self-help, which we need to add, which we needed to add,
Mhm.
is part of it, but also just building more into it. Maybe that's part of it. And honestly, last year when I tried to do and I'm waiting for a call to say that I didn't pay them, because that happened last year. I was told, you didn't pay, you owe us a bunch of money. So because I was doing this, my husband was home and he said, paid all the taxes? I said, yes. You paid all the excise taxes? I said, yes. He said, let's see what happens this year. So I'll have to wait and see. But it was a seamless process from payment, and I have I make copies of everything. So I think part of it is the knowledge base that we have to improve, the customer support pieces that we have to improve is a big one.
Mhm.
So that was a big learning for me. But I was happy that I was able to do it, because I was thinking, oh crap, one of my dog licenses are all taken care of. Everything was all taken care of.
Yep.
So it was a plus. It was an absolute plus, unless I get called by the sheriff and said that, they're coming out to get me in Ashburnham.
Right. For your unlicensed dog.
Yes.
Yep.
Or taxes.
Or taxes.
I
Either
did
one.
all the taxes.
It won't be
But-
on dogs because Donna, you're good. You got your tags.
Right.
I got everybody. I got everybody. So this is good. But at least with the, all of my real estate taxes, they all came in. So, at this point, if this has been improved, then what we need to do is start looking at what else do we need to do to fix this.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Cool. I was happy, by the way.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's
I know.
So I went in on Thursday and I talked with Brian a little bit
Yeah.
about some of the things that we've been talking about. And I gave him a budget number, and we just threw on the things that we talked about last week with the short term, the medium term, and the long term
Yeah.
ideas that we had talked about. So short term, we talked about adding chatbot. And then I said to Brian, if we get things organized and done quickly, why don't we throw the medium term ask on this budget also? So then we added on the extra 4,500 a year and 5,500 migration to do a template update. If
Cool. Yeah.
So we may not need to, we may not be ready for it, but at
Yeah.
least hopefully that number will be in the budget in case the town decides to do that.
That
But-
would be good. That would be good.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So, and Don and Michael, just to catch you up, we talked about last time, you saw it in the minutes, but we were talking about
Yeah.
doing some of the cosmetic and smaller things that Donna Burton can do herself, and how much are we expected to do, and how much will Civic Plus help us. And I think we're going to try to push that, overuse that helpline until they tell us that if we ask any more questions, they'll have to start charging us. So I think the idea is to try to get as much out of them for help as we can to get things cleaned up and organized and prettied up a little bit.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yep. So I also stopped by to talk to the building department to find out what they were looking to get, and for forms to do all the building permits. And building inspector wasn't in, so I couldn't talk to her, and I haven't had time this week. Today. So just in talking with Heather in down there, she was saying that having something where it's not paper would be helpful. So even if we just do something with the Civic Optimized base and just institute an online form and you fill it out and it gets emailed to her, she already has people doing that in a pinch. She says, well, just take a picture of it, fill it out, take a picture of it and send it in. And she's using that as necessary. So if we just kind of made that a better process, that might help. And I think the building inspector is looking to use whatever they're using in Sterling. And I clicked on the Sterling website, but I didn't have time to dive into it to see how that process actually went.
Okay. Well, anything we can do to improve that process would help.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. And I think I might have said it last time, but I've talked to a contractor and he said, I said, how is it pulling permits? He's like, I pull them when I have to, but I really don't like it because I have to take time to go down there and meet with them and fill it out. I can't just do it online. I can't just do it on my phone like I do with other communities.
Shoot. And that,
So,
I know that there are a couple of houses up by me that have come to a halt. And I have a feeling it's because they're waiting for the permitting process for, work to be done.
mm,
So anything we can do to improve the process, we should be able to do.
Yep.
Okay.
yeah. So checking my notes, is there anything else that kind of transpired? We talked about chatbot and we asked the question, could we get a demo of it? So I asked Braxton and he said they're not demoing it, but if we want, we could set up a call with their developers and they would give us a tour of the back end so we could see
Okay.
what training it is like. I don't think that's going to sway. Well, my opinion is that I don't think that's going to sway my decision to recommend chatbot at this point, but it certainly would help us understand it when we're ready to pull the trigger, whether we actually want to pull the trigger or not. I spent a little time on the Portland, Maine website, used
Yeah.
chatbot a little bit. Yeah, I was getting about a 50% success rate, but it's tough because I don't know that community. So I don't know how
No.
to ask, is the gazebo available for a summer concert? I don't know what words to use because I don't know what they call their, park in the square. I don't know.
Right.
That made it hard.
It should be more intuitive than that. And I think it's just, how much input you put into it.
Yep.
Because chatbot should be able to bring that. That's all based on AI. So with the right input, you should be able to get the right answers out. And I think it's just, training the chatbot to know what you're asking for.
Yes.
I had, honest to God, I had Zendesk on my corporate account and it did nothing for us. But part of it was because Zendesk is a basic function and you have to work with it to make it work. So you have to have somebody, they call them Zennies. So you have to have a Zenny on your staff to teach Zendesk what to ask for. So it's like anything else. It's like any other social media. If you have somebody on your staff that knows what to ask and how to build as a Zenny, that just drives me nuts. But you have to have the right people on your staff that push stuff to Zendesk so that they continually teach the bot what to ask for, you're fine. But if you let Zendesk sit there patiently waiting, you're not going to get anything out of it. Because that's what happened to us with Zendesk. Zendesk by itself is just going to sit there like, hello, as a vacant thing.
Yep.
So this is what I learned is you absolutely need to have somebody actively engaging with Zendesk or any of a chat bot, because the bot is nothing more than a recording device. You have to give it information to get information out of it. So unless we're going to do that, have somebody actively engaged in it, we're not going to get anything out of it.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed.
Okay.
All right. The other thing that I was thinking about is we didn't talk about if we want to link anything to social media, and we kind of chatted about it early on, whether we wanted to have a town-owned Facebook page, and I think my opinion would be that we would not allow comments on it. It would be information only going out, and if we tied that, and I think Donna Burton, did you say that Braxton told you we could do cross-posting automatically with our news feed?
I think we could do something, but let me just, there's some people at town hall that does not want a Facebook.
Why?
Because they just don't want to be able to sit there and have to sit there and monitor it.
Well, they don't have to if they can manage they can manage the feeds in and the feeds out. So who doesn't want to manage the feed?
A lot of the people at town hall, and I'm one of them.
Oh, okay. Well, that's okay. That's understandable. But
You know,
Facebook
we
is
already
already
get bashed on Facebook as it is, and the Ashburnham Town Facebook that's
exactly,
up there is not managed by anybody at town hall.
That's
exactly.
not a Facebook problem though, right? That's
That's
a bashing citizens
that's
problem, you know?
Yeah,
correctly
I
correct.
know.
So if there is an official Ashburnham Facebook page, as opposed to the not official Facebook page, which we do not have, you can actually correct some of that behavior by having an official Facebook page. Because right now, you have cranky people on both sides creating content, but you don't have an official Facebook response by the Ashburnham town. So you
Well,
have
I
people,
suppose if that's something that the power of be want to do, then that would be up to them.
it would be up to them. But
The
right
powers
now,
that be, which is the town board of selectmen.
right. But right now, you don't have any of it. So you have people on both sides that feel compelled to, because I read all of them.
Yeah,
And so you have people on both sides who feel empowered to contribute or not contribute without any input from the town itself.
and we'd also have to check with town council.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
But you can have an official Facebook page where you can actually control content that you want to provide from the town itself
Mhm.
that's monitored and controlled.
Right.
But we don't do that. So you have people from both sides that provide uncontrolled content with no input from the town officials. So you get every once in a while you have stuff from somebody in the town, but nothing, there is no official. That's because we have no newspapers or anything. You have nothing that has been vetted by the town. So you have conjecture, you have gossip, but you have nothing that's real. So you either, and without a legitimate news source, what you get is you get one side of the aisle or
Yeah,
the
but
other
we're
side
not
of
in
the
that
aisle.
kind of business. We're not in the newspaper business.
We're not, but we don't have any official source of record at the same time.
No, but if I send something out, I send it to people who subscribe to the Town of Ashburnham website. If I send out a news notice, I send it out through their email, however they signed up, if they signed up for it.
But
That's a
that's
pretty good analogy though, Donna, because the town Facebook would be that. You would be publishing news outward, and that's really where it would
exactly.
stop.
And this is where, and this
But like
is the
I
difference.
said, that's up to the town, you know,
Yeah,
to
okay.
take and go ahead and do whatever they have to do, check into it and see if they want it.
But that's one of the things that the town needs to start looking at, is rather than having one side of the town on one side of the town on the other side, there needs to be an objective review, because we
And
don't
also,
have that.
I'll add that on the monitoring side, Donna, that you brought up a minute ago, that
Mhm.
because it would, well, I don't know about the like regulations if the town is allowed to turn off, incoming comments and that kind of stuff. I'll leave that one aside. But in the analogy of we send out email alerts when there are news announcements to go out,
Mhm.
if you use that as the model for doing it on Facebook and all the others, that doesn't require any monitoring, right? That's you hitting the publish button. And in fact, it would very likely be automated anyway, such that anything that gets published, or maybe anything that gets published with a little box checked of, yes, I want this one to also go to Facebook, then you hit the button and publish it, and voila, it's already there. So I think just given the nature of the technology, it will require minimal, if any, extra effort to publish things out. Now, watching for comments, I understand that's a whole can of worms, but I don't think it's related to today's discussion. And that's where legal comes in and all this other stuff. But the functionality and like, hey, let's just get some source of information for the town to publish on. The technology is easy, and the act of actually publishing it there is also easy. So I don't think those concerns really have to go very far. I think that we can put that one to rest.
That's good to know.
Yeah, that doesn't mean it's the whole thing is easy, right? There are still the comment questions, and there's discussion to be had there. But like you said, Donna, that's for the board.
Right.
But
But as far as website is concerned, the technology is there.
as long as there's a moderation function, as long as you can moderate what's happening and you have control over it as the Facebook town Facebook page, okay? Then you can create whatever rules you want to have on that Facebook page. You can set up whatever parameters you want to have. You can say no personal bashing, no political junk. You can create whatever rules you have. And as long as people follow those rules, they're okay to post. And you can post whatever you want to post. And if people choose not to follow those rules, then you can say, drop that post off the page. So as a town Facebook page, you have control over what's pasted on that page. And you can drop stuff that doesn't belong immediately. So you do have control.
Yeah, and the fastest, smoothest way to do that is just disable it entirely. And that option does exist both technologically, like that's a setting you can enable.
Right.
And also there's some, again, I'm not a lawyer here, so I don't want to promise any of this, but there is some precedent for that you essentially treat it as, in air quotes here, a government communication,
Right.
just like your website is, as opposed to the other side of that would be a traditional public forum, which is two-way, right? That's town meeting, that's whatever else. So the town gets to decide which of these two avenues are we gonna take with our Facebook page here. And if you make it government communication, then it is by definition one directional, and you do not need to allow anybody to comment back or post back. That in itself might annoy some people, but it is an option anyway, and it therefore negates the need for monitoring and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think initially that we should suggest that we're going to offer capability for people to comment. And both from the we can't control what they say and then we have to monitor it, but also somebody has to monitor that. And we don't have a website person, we don't have a social media person. So since we don't, my thinking is that this is just going to allow us an additional avenue, in addition to the email, in addition to posting in the newsfeed on the main town website. It would cross post over there as well. So Donna posts in one place, the email blast goes out, the newsfeed gets updated, and the Facebook feed gets updated. Having it on Facebook also would give us the opportunity to respond if we feel the need. Let's say we're going into a town meeting and there's a contentious issue that's going to be voted on, and there's a lot of misinformation. It would give us the opportunity. We don't necessarily need to update the news feed on the town website, but we could repost documentation to correct things without commenting that, you people are nuts, please read. We could just repost it. And it's kind of a soft nudge, like, here's the official town information. Please go here to see what's really going on.
You can also private message people and give them a little content that you don't need to give to anyone else, which is a nice way to do it.
That I'm not sure if that's true by way of the page though. You can't prompt them outbound, as far as I know. You would have to do that in response. That is, if they take the first step and message the town's page,
and
then you can reply.
Then you can private reply,
right,
and say, you can message them and say, look at this, and not put it into the public domain, because you can private message people on Facebook and say, I'm sending you a message.
Not if you're acting as the page, though. The page as its own entity. If you were operating as Donna Burton, Donna Michael, John Mahal, TJ Kelly, sure, we can message anybody we want to. If you're operating as Town of Ashburnham, You can't
You can't?
you can't,
Okay.
proactively go and say, I'm going to send John a
Oh,
message
no,
right now.
no, as a response to.
Okay,
As a
but
response,
once again,
absolutely.
this Facebook page has to be up to the Board of Selectmen.
Right,
And then they may have to take it to a town meeting. I don't know. It'd have
Right.
to be talked over with town council.
Right.
So-
So as far as the four of us are concerned, the question is, should we recommend it to them or not?
true.
And I don't know if that needs to be a vote for the four of us, we can do a vote, but I think yes, I think any amount of information distribution is good. We need to understand that there are some, asterisks that come with that. But I would say not even limited to Facebook, right? We could also be doing Twitter. We could also be doing all the others that might go along with that. Because wherever people spend their time online, it would be easy, best of us to provide that information in a way they can most easily access
Are
it.
other small towns on all of these functions?
I don't know of too many. I do know that the town I used to live in before I moved here 5 years ago, they were very active on, and still are active on all those.
Mhm.
In a lot of cases, it's like, the Chamber of Commerce will be trying to publicize businesses and they'll do it by way of the town. So there's an official town, maybe the library for it would be a good analogy for us. If the library were doing an event and they wanted to publicize it, they would put it on their own Facebook, but they would also ask the town's main Facebook page to reshare that and get the word out a little bit. So it's mostly that kind of almost advertising
Yep.
for things within the town. But they also will do like, remember there's a road closure, that kind of stuff. I know Gardner does it, that, not small town per se, but certainly local.
Well,
So
town
yeah, we
of
can find a bunch of examples.
Town of Ashby does it all the time. They publicize themselves on our Facebook page.
Hmm.
They have a very active Facebook page and they advertise on ours all the time.
I was just clicking around real quick to
Mhm.
see if I could find a couple of towns. Just looking, there's I don't know, I'm not the best with Facebook. I need my daughter here, but there's like Ashby, Massachusetts. It comes up and it
Mhm.
says where to go, eat, drink, sightseeing, hotel, shopping, and you can click on the various things. A lot of this is not relevant to Ashby, so I wonder if there's something. If I did Ashburnham,
You could also be looking at an automatically generated one, John. They do
That's
like
what I'm
community
thinking.
pages. And for those, it's pretty, pretty templated, pretty standard. And you're right, for a town like Ashby, nobody's going there and looking for places to stay and eat and drink. That's not how Ashby works. Neither would it be
Right.
Ashburnham. But those are community pages. If it were, and community is their term for like, nobody owns this. We just made it with publicly accessible data.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that's exactly what I'm finding.
if it were a town-owned one, we could expect it to be more, more accurate.
Right. Right. All right. So do we want to recommend? Do we need to vote? Donna, would you like us to vote on this? So can we
Yeah.
What are you asking?
I think I know your vote.
I don't want anything to do with Facebook or Twitter or anything like that. So,
Yep. And to
because
the
I
comment that
don't
was,
do personally, I don't use Twitter. I'm on Facebook, but I don't use any of the social media. I don't
Yeah.
use my cell phone to go on it.
Donna, if it were a matter of, these two systems are connected under the hood, as it were,
Mhm.
and you click a button on the website and 5 seconds later that same thing appears on the town's Facebook page.
That's
If it's
fine.
if it's that level of involvement, that's not problematic, right?
Right. No,
Okay.
that's not. But if I had to go ahead and monitor it, forget
Agreed.
it.
right.
Agreed.
Right. Yeah. If you had to be the Kelly Hansen of the town's Facebook page, I don't
Yeah.
think that would. I don't think that would work.
Somebody would have to give me some more money to do that.
There we go.
More
All right.
patience. That's what I would need.
Patience, yes.
All right. So it sounds like
I'd have to watch my mouth,
well, that's the other thing. All right. So do we all feel comfortable with this, or do you want
Mhm.
us? Or do we need to vote? Do we all feel good?
Mhm.
about
do.
that level of recommendation?
Yeah,
Okay,
Yes.
all right, we'll put it in for posting only.
I would include Facebook and Twitter.
Okay,
That's, I mean, Instagram doesn't make any sense because you
No,
can't automate that in that way.
right.
And I don't think it makes any sense to try to expand beyond that. So I would stick it to just those two.
yeah.
All right. Yep. And I wonder if, do we still have an Economic Development Commission?
yes.
All right. I'm wondering if they've ever discussed that, having a town Facebook page for posting, or something that's even managed by somebody for, just to kind of get us out there to encourage.
Probably not yet, John. They're
Yep.
working on the bylaw, revamping the whole bylaw, so,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Yep. That's probably a little more important than Facebook.
yep.
All right, great. So we'll recommend that. So what else do we need to recommend? Like I said, I was going to lay out our three, our three tiers: our short-term, medium-term, and long-term
Donna,
updates.
Donna Burton, do you think it's you mentioned you don't want to have anything to do with Facebook, for example. That's a pretty good I don't know, maybe tip of the iceberg of you saying, like, listen, we need a person who does this more full time than me, or make a kind of a recommendation of, I don't want this to be my job anymore, and I don't, obviously we wouldn't say it that way, but if this is an opportunity to say, listen, we need to hire somebody, or maybe bring in a contractor that can think about this, now's the time to recommend budget additions that could
Or
cover your
involve the
hire.
IT people more.
Sure. So
One
is there
way- yeah,
any sort of
one way or the other.
procedural, personnel level things we can be recommending? And I think that makes sense of, like, listen, we need somebody who this is their primary job. Doesn't have to be their only job, but we can't just stick these responsibilities onto people who already have other primary jobs and think that's going to be good
Right,
enough,
because-
right? That would be too much a burden on you and anybody else.
Yeah, I don't get paid for doing the web stuff,
Yeah. Right.
that's
So
extra. That's part of my job.
I think then we should, take this chance to say, perfect world, we could hire somebody to do this full time and
We
let
should-
them work
yeah.
down
Or
from
part-time.
100%. Sure.
Or
sure,
part-time.
part-time.
I agree. This is not just incremental on top of her. This
Right.
should not
I
be.
mean, that could be a
incremental.
future thing too, not
Exactly.
something that happens like right away, but more
Exactly.
so.
And the sooner
the
we get it in
future.
front of them, the sooner it happens. If it's
Yep.
tomorrow
Yeah.
or 10 years from now, we can start that ball rolling.
Yeah,
It shouldn't be that hard to do. It really shouldn't be, to get that piece of the puzzle in there. There are a lot of people who are available, so that shouldn't be that hard to do.
That would be one, section in our recommendation that I think we
Yep.
ought to add. And I don't think it needs to be anything fancy. I think we just, put a couple of sentences together of
Yep.
how, the needs of the town have outgrown the, the infrastructure, or whatever terminology we want to use here, have outgrown the process that we currently use to keep our website updated, as evidenced by all of this negative feedback. If we want to, meet these, the needs of the townspeople that they're asking for here, not only do we need a system that can handle it, but we need somebody whose job is to be on top of this all the time.
Precisely. I agree.
Yeah, because they're the one that can go chase down the committee chairs and say, we need your minutes,
Yes.
or we're gonna have
Yes.
a conversation with the town
Right.
administrator.
Yes.
We have to have this posted, and making all that stuff, Donna, that we talked about, where people don't communicate with you.
Mhm.
This could be the person that chases down those answers.
And
Right.
even, consistency, right? If meeting minutes are named differently by different committees, and therefore you search for one thing and you can find it for that committee, but you can't find it for another because they didn't name it the same. That kind of data inconsistency problem can be solved if one person is, dedicated to paying attention to this. And when that problem comes up, it's that person who's accountable and say, hey, we need you to go fix this. And now you can retroactively fix some of the things that have been a problem in the past. So it unlocks a number of avenues to improve things. just because, Donna, this isn't your job, and we shouldn't be making you, on the line for this sort of stuff. We need somebody who it is their job, and it is, we can go to them and say, please fix this now.
All right, so I'll put in there some language about just what we talked about, and we should create a partial position for a webmaster and somebody to maintain consistency on the site and enforce. I like that word. Enforce the flow of information. There we go.
Got it.
I'll make that sound prettier, and then you guys can tear it up when I get it over to you. All right. All right. What else do we want to recommend?
You said you were going to put that medium term stuff in there, right? The templates or themes or whatever they were calling that.
Yeah. So what I was going to put in there, I'll go back to the notes from last week. I'll tell you exactly how I was, not exactly, but pretty close to what I was going to say. So I said our short term was to add the chatbot, do a minor reorganization to fix some of the layout issues. We're also going to have Civic Plus give us a demo of what Optimize could give us. We were going to actually. All right, hold on now. So that was the short term. The medium term was to add Optimize. Let's clean this up because now I think I was typing quick and I don't think I typed all the words. So let's go through these 3 tiers that we're going to recommend. Okay, so short term chatbot. Minor reorg to fix some of the layout issues, and we were going to try to leverage as much as we could out of Civic Plus to get their help on this.
Short term was basically what can Civic Plus do for us for free right now?
Right.
Plus chatbot.
Okay. Okay. And that was it for our short-term stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Then we were going to go to medium.
Which was the rescan or retheme, or I forget their term for it, but it was
Revamp.
pretty short money. Yeah, pretty short money upgrade of the layout and colors and kind of just overall design.
Yeah.
Repaint the website.
Essentially, it's a repaint. Yes, they do have a word for it, but that's the effect. And then I wanted to add on to that, John, similar to the hey, what can you give us for free? That line of thinking of let's get the most out of Civic Plus that we possibly can. In this iteration, that would mean, hey, while you are helping us convert to this new template, can you also help us, do some of that reorganization stuff we just talked about at the short-term level? Can you help us identify any gaps in our data that you can fix for us? Or even if we do the fix, can you help us find them and recommend what the fixes should be? Is that, kind of data cleanup, could that be somehow included into a redesign? And see if they have had any amount of help that they could provide for that kind of thing.
Okay. All right. I think also for the medium term, we were going to say, let's also add the Civic Optimized base that would allow us to post and tie in online forms.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so that's our medium term. I also put in there, let's see, that's just kind of a suggestion as to how to get there. I think I'll take that out and put that someplace else. All right, so for long term, if this all goes well and we continue to increase and get more interest and usage of the website, then I think we were talking about upgrading to the larger package, which was the Civic Engage, which was a different platform altogether that included a whole bunch of other portal type stuff.
Yep.
Okay.
And as I recall, part of the reason for keeping that in the long term is that we don't have our house in order well enough with all the different departments and the data that they should be submitting and such. So we could upgrade to that thing today if we had the budget for it, but we wouldn't be able to fully leverage it and take full advantage of it, given our own, kind of disorganization from all the different departments. So we wanted to see if we can fix our own house a little bit before we start paying for a bigger, better system.
Exactly. Yep.
Now, I'm going to sidebar us a little bit for a second here. We had talked some weeks back, or probably months now, about just investigating competitors to Civic Plus. Should we look at a different system entirely? And my recollection of that is we said we don't want to bother with that yet because essentially it would be too much of a project that we don't know if we need. And our lack of confidence in knowing whether or not we need it, at least for me, was enough to say I don't want to recommend that yet. Are there other reasons for that? Am I remembering that correctly?
There was nobody really close.
On price or just
No. Within, in Massachusetts, there was a few people that were out of state.
Okay. I think we should be prepared for the answer or for the question of, all right, all this says Civic Plus. What else did you look at and what else can you tell us about
We
that?
looked at Revise. We looked at government access.
I just don't remember why we decided not to really dig into
They
those
weren't
systems.
local.
It was just locality?
Is it just because they're not local?
Government, that other government whatever that was, that government site, their base was like out of California, and the only person that they had was from out of California. They didn't have no real users in Mass.
Okay.
I see. So it was other examples of local towns that we wanted to use for comparison.
Revitalize was pretty similar to Civic.
I think another consideration was that if we went with somebody else, we would be paying
A
up
high
front.
cost.
We'd be starting with the minimum of the 4,500 just to get up onto their system. So being that we weren't sure we were even ready for a retooling, I think we decided that we were not going to consider it. That was one of the other reasons.
Okay.
I don't know if that needs to go in the official recommendation or if that's just let's be prepared with the
Yeah,
answer when we get the
I
question.
wouldn't say that.
Yeah.
I'd
yeah.
leave that.
I'm
I'd
not
leave
going to
that
talk
down.
about, because we didn't do a full proposals vetting.
No.
We didn't go through all that. So I'm not even going to talk about it, but we'll be able to say it.
Yeah, and I don't think proximity means anything anymore because everything is on the cloud. It's in the cloud. It doesn't mean anything. So I wouldn't.
I can appreciate the comparison though, right? We know how to compare ourselves to Westminster. We know how to
Yeah.
compare ourselves to, Ashby. We don't know how to
Yeah.
compare ourselves to Carlsbad, California or something.
No.
Right.
But I would leave that one out. I would soft pedal that one a bit.
Yep.
All right, guys, I'm reaching a hard stop here at 6:45.
Yeah,
So
I know how
are we
you feel.
gonna wrap or do I have to bow out early? Either one of those is okay with me,
No.
but I don't want to leave you
Are
guys
we
in the lurch.
okay?
Yeah, I think we're good. The only thing that I'm gonna chase down is that we didn't spend a lot of time talking about rolling in the DPW and what it would cost to migrate sites, but I think I have that back in my notes. So I'll keep that also as our backup responses to questions.
I
I
think
do know that our one of our recommendations is just to get rid of the DPW site entirely.
Yeah,
Okay.
they can roll in with us like the police department does as a sub-site.
They can.
Yeah,
And Braxton
Yep.
gave us a demo on all that. That part's easy. I think there's some small costs associated with it, but easy
Yeah.
to do.
I think it was like $500 or something.
it wasn't that expensive. It was very cheap, but it can be done.
All right. All right.
All right.
Do we feel good? And I'll send out a draft by the middle of the week.
All right.
Then we can have one last meeting next week, and then the BOS the following week, and we're done.
All
You're
right.
gonna
Good
give
to
me
go.
a date for next week or what?
What's that,
June
Donna?
29th.
Monday? Is that Monday?
Monday the
Oh,
29th.
perfect. All right. Got it.
All right,
5:30 or 6?
6 o'clock.
All right. I'll put it in my calendar.
Excellent. All right,
Thank you, guys.
sounds good. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I move.
Second,
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
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 Have a good night, folks.
Okay.
you.
Night.
All right,
Enjoy.
thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.